Good. Okay, we're going to call the select board meeting for Monday, May 30th to order. It's 7 o'clock according to my, my phone. First appointment is 7 for Ann Daler. Interview for the Planning Commission open seat. She's not here.
Do you want to give her a couple minutes just to see if you can move on to someone else in case she comes, and then if not, maybe Eric, he was able to meet her. He can...
First, we'll move on. Public forum, opportunity for citizens who are not on the agenda to briefly share comments and concerns with the board. Anybody out there?
I just want to commend the select board for continuing on the business park. Finally going to get this thing going, which is going to be a great thing for the town. And he's doing a lot of hard work over years to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else?
I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our veterans for what they've done for us in the past, and just to say thank you for giving us the opportunities that we have to be a free country and do what we do. So thank you all.
Thank you. I'd also like to say happy 90th birthday to George Smith.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, number 2, policy to appoint the fire chief and deputy fire chief.
So you can, for Peter and Ted, you could say I tried to give you a little bit of background history, let you know that this had been looked at before and talked about, and then we got moved into budget season, and Sharon knew she wasn't staying, and so it was, the board had decided to keep talking about it, but talk about it at a later date. So it's later. And obviously your current fire chief is here, your first assistant, second assistant, and
All the officers.
and are here, and so if you have any questions, we can start with that. I did want to say that, let's see, since you have the draft copy, I've given you 2 drafts. This is obviously the most recent, and you can tell that by the date.
So I do have some comments. Under number 1, the last sentence, it says the applicant must be a resident of Bristol or willing to relocate within 6 months of appointment, which goes against the Bristol Fire Department policy, is that you must be a resident of the town to join the department.
Okay.
So that's contrary to that. And I am strongly opposed to the 10-year limit. I think for a lot of the reasons that you stated, Therese, this job is not one that, okay, it's somebody else's turn. There's a tremendous amount of responsibility here. There's a $3+ million facility, $1 million plus in the fire apparatus, all the equipment, supervising up to 40 people, and it's somebody who also works a full-time job. My feeling is that we're going to really box ourselves in if we say after 10 years you're doing a tremendous job, but you know, somebody else's turn. If we remove that, you still have that option after 10 years to do that. But I've seen departments put limits on fire chiefs, and they really scrambled because they were stuck because that was their policy, and there was nobody waiting in the wings that was appropriate for that
The
position.
thing is too, Peter, that you will be, you know, they'll be evaluated every year, so if you have issues, you can deal with them.
Yes, I
So
understand.
yeah, so I can see what you're saying there.
But what this is saying is, if you've got somebody really good and they're doing a great job,
Yeah.
you just say, okay, you're done.
Right.
And I don't like it. I don't
Okay.
think it's appropriate.
There you go. And as far as must be a resident, that was something that I think the board had talked about, just because in case they didn't have somebody maybe already on the roster or something like that, I think was kind of the discussion. And again, it was, these are discussion points from previous boards, so I don't know how anyone else feels about that. But certainly, you can always remove that piece and make them that they already have to be a resident. No problem.
Peter, do you have anything, or are you thinking?
Yeah, the only comment I got, and the reason that the 10 years is there is it's been proven in the fire service that after 10 years, 5 to 7 years, you lose your effectiveness. I'm not saying that in 10 years, I want somebody gone. What I'm saying is I want the option that if we feel things are stagnant, to be able to change them.
Can you put in there? Just a thought, can you put in there that, you know, they're good for 10 years and in 10 years they have to like reapply?
the way I read this is they need to set.
No, but I'm saying, can we put
We
in
can
a
change it any way
provision
we want.
If you're doing 3-year terms,
or whatever it is?
Have them reapply every 3 years.
you're already doing that.
Is
No,
that
I
the
think
way-
I think right now, if 3 years, it just continues without any reapplication.
I would rather see a reapplication.
I don't know that I want to do that, but
Why not?
that's just my opinion.
The reason that the 3-year term plus 1 was Peter's idea, as he's explaining to you right now. And what was your reason for 3 years? You were just
So
trying to.
what's to get to the 10 years?
Yeah.
Right.
It's a nice, even, easy way to do it. And it doesn't, just because it was an easy way to do it, doesn't mean it's the way to go. It was a starting point. With anything we do, we've got to have a starting point, and that's why I started there. It's nothing personal. It's not that I don't think that we don't have a terrific staff. I look at our past and I say, you know, there are people who coulda, shoulda, might have been chief had we had some sort of limit. And you get different ideas. And, you know, the beauty of the staff we've got right now is they're very forward thinking. And they're not afraid of change. And, you know, if that doesn't get stagnant, then there isn't any issue. But if it gets stagnant, that's when, you know, the fire service has a history of doing what we do because we've always done it. And this department has gone outside of that. So it may not be an issue at all. It's just a concern. You know, every lecture you listen to, you know, that's what they're saying, that you need to keep things fresh.
And I agree with that, but I want to be able to have the ability to make that change if we choose to, not because we have to.
I would fully agree with that.
So you could do it at, I mean, if the term, obviously they get reviewed every year. So, and the
How do you-
statute is clear to let you,
Let me ask you a question. How do you review them? You have a department head evaluation with whoever the chief is. But who do you talk to? I mean, you've got the officers, but you don't really talk to them. You've got the members, you don't really talk to them. What input does anybody have? I mean, I guess I get that, but I mean, and don't get this wrong, you guys. It's not a full-time job, as in it's 5 days for the town of Bristol. You're here 40 hours a week. So you don't see them in the job, working the job. You don't go on scene when they have a call.
no?
So how do you know, and you know yourself, and you guys know that the members don't come here to complain.
No. It's the same way, honestly, that kind of ways that I do the police chief, is you talk to the treasurer's office to make sure that they're fulfilling their financial obligations. In this case, certainly this past year, you know, the fire chief and I have worked closely together, so I have that view of them. With the police chief, I've spoken to other people that he works with. And as far as the chief, you do the same thing. You can talk to people that are other, maybe department heads they've had a project going on with, or other people. The other thing is, new this year, is the select board will talk about department head evaluations. So certainly you see them in not just fire chief, the police chief, the rec department, the road foreman. You run into them in different situations, and so you have feedback because you see them in different occasions and in different lights than I do. So what I try to do is just speak to people who have worked on a project with the department head in the past, so that I don't have just my experience, and I also have their self-evaluations, but I have experiences that others have had with them. It's not an exact science.
So if we go with this policy, we appoint the fire chief and the first assistant chief, right?
Yes.
They'll vote on the rest of them. Their procedures and that stay the same within the fire department. They operate the same way, nothing changes.
Right, this policy is an amendment to the current fire department bylaws that the select board adopted on October 27th,
Right.
2014. So, since they're policies by the select board, you can amend them. And yes, that was the suggestion talked about, I believe at the time, was doing, I mean, although statute allows you to appoint everybody, including all the firefighters, but I don't think it's kettle of fish, you don't know, mess around right now. But certainly the top two. And so yes, you would just be amending those bylaws and they would appoint the rest of the slate of officers as they've done in the past until you or another board sees fit to change that.
Unlike some, I like term limits. And I don't like the term will automatically renew. I really don't like that portion of it. I think every 3 years, a reapplication should occur and the thing come up for discussion, as opposed to trying to come up, it isn't working, so we've got to come up with some way to get rid of this person. If it comes up automatically, you avoid that.
Joe?
Well, Peter, I made a note of yours. You said the applicant must be a resident of Bristol or willing. I was wondering if you scratch out the word within 6 months and put to be appointed, willing to relocate to be appointed. So if someone applies from Burlington or Rutland and said, if we appoint you, you've got to relocate. They don't have 6 months.
No, my only point there, Joel, is that just goes against what's current policy, is that you must be a resident in order to even apply.
Okay.
So whether you're coming as a firefighter or a chief or whatever, so something's gonna change in one way, that or the other.
So if you want to apply, and you know it's going up,
You move.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I don't see, I really don't see it as being that big a draw. I don't think.
no,
Right.
no, I don't. But,
I don't think we're.
you don't think someone's going to move down here first? I'll move first, hope I can get the job. No, if you appoint me, I'm moving.
It is a commitment.
It's a very large.
That's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No,
But it's not.
you move from
like-
White River Junction to Burlington. Okay, I'm moving.
Yeah, to,
I'm not going to move to Burlington and then apply for the job. And then if I didn't get
it
it, shit, I
doesn't, it
moved.
doesn't pay all that well.
No. Didn't say it did.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say to Ted was just the legislative body may appoint and remove such officers.
Right.
So so it doesn't, you know.
No, I understand
so
that.
about
I understand that.
But 3 years,
I mean,
If every 3 years it comes up, you avoid having to do that.
Sorry. Personally, if they're doing a fine job in 3 years, because you really can't get motivated and say, well, I'm gonna have to reapply in 3 years, what am I,
What's wrong with reapplying every 3 years? I mean,
we haven't asked the rest of the heads.
To Ted's point, if you reapply every 3 years, it's not saying we have to allow any other applications for
that's
the
right.
first 3 terms.
I mean, we can allow them, but we can reappoint.
Yeah.
I mean,
It comes up. It comes up for.
Put a smoke screen on
is
it.
that giving somebody false?
I don't think it's.
Yeah.
It's a check and balance. Yeah.
Oh, I
Exactly.
don't mind checking balance, and we do that
No, I
when
guess-
we have our reviews.
I
We
guess
have check and
it's
balances.
no different than it is now. You know, if Eric decided he wanted to run for chief this year in January, in the current system the fire department has, he could be nominated and he could run. This is another level. This is the level that the administrative part that the select board takes care of. And I don't see, I do not foresee a chief being removed for the sake of somebody else coming in if he's doing his job.
That's right.
No, I don't. I don't see that.
So there isn't, I guess I don't see any harm in letting somebody else have a stab at it when you,
Fair game,
yeah.
I guess is the way you're looking at it. I mean, it's no different than it is now. Every year, anybody can run for,
Anybody can be,
anybody can run for chief, or
Yeah.
Or
nominated,
any position.
according to whatever your requirements are for that.
Right.
I
They
don't
meet
see
that criteria.
where the problem is, every 3 years, hey, you're doing a great job, nobody else wants this job, thank you very much. You've applied, you're reappointed. That doesn't necessarily mean that somebody else is looking for that position. It just comes up for a check and balance, as you said before, every 3 years.
So basically what you're saying is we want to amend that so that you're going to appoint you're going to appoint for a 3-year term.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Oh, we still
And the renewal.
need a year's probation.
Yeah, you still need a year's probation.
A new appointee, we still need a year's probation.
Right, so the first time they're appointed, they get a year probation and then a 3-year term.
Okay.
After that, then it's just a 3-year term.
And so, but you're saying they can serve as many 3-year terms as
As the
however it
select
works
board.
out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Until they
So one-
decide that they're sick of working a regular job and another 20 hours a week and doing fire departments.
As opposed to limiting it to 10 years, 3 3-year terms plus 1. If they're doing a great job, leave them in there for a century.
He won't be quite as quick to respond in a century. then.
Speak for yourself.
So, did you have consensus? You all want me to remove that, locate, just basically resident Bristol, period? Is
I mean,
that-
I don't have a problem with it, but it goes against their current bylaws, so you either need to amend the bylaws for the, at least for the fire chief, or
Well, this
you have to
automatic-
take it out of here, yeah.
Right, I see that. This
Okay, go
automatically,
ahead.
this
Just to
automatically.
be clear, it goes against the town of Bristol Fire Department policies
Yeah.
that you folks adopted.
And this is an amendment to those
Right.
policies, so, but we can put a period
I
right
guess,
there.
I'm saying that you can't be chief unless you're a resident of Bristol. But you
Right.
can apply,
Right. So
but
if
you
you
can't even
apply,
apply unless you're a resident by this.
The applicant must be a resident of Bristol, that's exactly what you're saying, yes. Yep, that's why we had that we're willing to relocate, but,
Now, I think we better be clear here because I'm a little unclear at the moment. This document, when we get it the way we want it and adopt it, is an amendment to the bylaws?
yes.
The policy.
The amendment to the policies,
Policy.
I think I might have
Those
used the, yes, I used the word, I said,
amendment to those
Well,
bylaws,
no,
yeah,
the
said this
by-
policy is an
the
amendment to
election
those bylaws.
officers is in the bylaws.
It is. But the residence piece is in the policy.
And that's not in the bylaws?
No, it is as well, if I may.
Go ahead, Rick.
So the town of Bristol policies that you folks adopted supersede the town of Bristol Fire Department bylaws. The language in the town of Bristol policies mirrors what's in the bylaws. It just elaborates more on specifics. Like the bylaws do say you must be a town of Bristol resident. The policies say you must be a town of Bristol resident, and this is how you prove you're a town of Bristol resident. You know, an electric bill, tax bill, something of that nature. Because we've had folks in the past who haven't been honest and have said they're Bristol residents and are not Bristol residents. And to be a true first responder, you really must live in the community in which you serve.
all right, so I'll change the word bylaws to policies.
So that takes away from you guys any candidates who may not be a Bristol resident or be on the fire department that may be interested. I mean, I don't know that you'd have some, but have anybody, but
I seriously doubt we would have anyone. And, you know, typically, as the Peter pointed out, you know, over the years, we've had people in-house, but I just didn't want to get tied down just in case there isn't.
right.
My other question is, with this probationary piece, if we appointed the same two chief and first assistant as we have now, that have been in position for 2 or 3 years, do we start with the probationary period now?
You'd have to ask Peter, I'm not sure what his thought was on
Well,
that.
the term that was passed around was rubber stamp, and I said absolutely not. But I don't feel that, personally, they've met the probationary period as far as I'm concerned. I think moving forward, if we're gonna have, you know, in the future, when you have a different chief or a different assistant chief, then there needs to be that probationary period in case it just doesn't work.
I agree with that, but I just wanted to clarify.
It's working now.
Yeah.
As far as we know, no one's
And I did use the word bless, I just want you to know, when I was typing this, I said, oh no, this is a word we need. So
So,
that makes sense. So yes, I can understand what you're saying, 'cause if you were gonna appoint now, but that could be part of once you adopt the policy, that could be just part of the motion, is that you waive the probationary period for them, so. Okay, but I understand that now.
So back to the one about we'll relocate. Are you guys willing to close that door?
What's that?
Close the door to anybody from outside of the Bristol. I mean, I'm just saying, think about this in the future. I mean, right now it's working, and it may work for 10, 20 years from now, but what happens if?
You could
Are you
change
willing
the
to call-
policy,
well,
or the
yeah.
board could change.
I'm
the
just trying to be
policy, but yeah, no,
future thinking here.
You're gonna have to dust off the crystal ball.
It doesn't matter what ordinance or policy we pass, we always miss something.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I remember when I first got on the board, we spent months and months and months working on a dog ordinance. We passed the dog ordinance. The next week after we passed it, we had something happen with a dog that wasn't in that
Yeah.
ordinance. So I mean, you're not gonna, we can beat this up.
Yeah, not like
As long as we don't tie future boards' hands, which we can't do anyway,
Yep.
you know.
So this policy here that we've stretched out a little bit, or not gonna have the willing to relocate, we're gonna take out 2, we're gonna take out 3 then.
Why would we take out 2? Resumes and cover letters will be reviewed and collected. Why would you take them out?
We're not going to do that. We're gonna appoint the 2.
Well,
No,
what
for
they're-
the current
For the
ones.
current ones,
Current.
they're trying to, I think what,
The current, what
You
we're
bless.
gonna do is appoint the current elected officers.
For,
For 3 years.
3 years,
Beginning
beginning January 1, 2016. If everybody, I mean, that's my thought.
Yeah.
That's just my thought.
so here again, then, we're not doing number 2. We're not going to get
Not-
resumes and
not
cover
this-
letters.
Not this current one, but in 3 years.
Oh, I thought we talked about 3 years, we're going to, I won't say we'll rubber stamp it, but
no, what he's saying is again, in 3 years, you'll just look at them again. You'll get,
Reapply.
if Brett and Eric are still interested, they'll have to just basically reapply. Come in and maybe just to send a letter of interest and
Yeah.
say, yes, we're still interested in carrying on. And if someone else is, they could
And
also
update the
submit at the same
resume.
time. And we have Brett and Eric's resumes right now, on file.
You know, and there are minimum qualifications, so you may get somebody who's interested, who applies, who
Right
doesn't meet
behind
those
Joel, you
minimum
can't see him.
qualifications.
Yeah, because that's right, because you did, approve those job descriptions in the last few months.
Brett, did you have something you would say?
You folks, the select board, you make a decision perhaps this evening based on what's in front of you. I just, for the record, I don't necessarily agree with the 3-year term limits, because if I'm truly a department head, as the road foreman, as the rec director, as the police chief, then it's discrimination. Do you, every 3 years, do you reevaluate them and say, well, you're not doing a good job in 3 years, start looking for another job? You have Town of Bristol self-employed evaluations currently in place. You can get rid of whoever's in this seat anytime you want, based on what I am or what I'm doing or what I'm not doing. There's your tool. Every year, you have that ability to remove whoever sits in this chair from this office. I just wanted to get that on record, that if you want us truly to be fair across the board, department head to department head to department head, then I think you should consider that. Yes, Therese sees what I do most of the time. I think moving forward, if you folks choose to do this, you should reach out to your first assistant chief, to your second assistant chief, to your other officers. Ask what's involved. Only they know. You know, we have the ability to communicate behind a keyboard, and that's how we do our business, because we have our full-time job. But I give 15, 20 hours a week in administrative duties to the town of Bristol. I don't do it for compensation, obviously. And then you throw on your scheduled meetings, your emergencies, which aren't scheduled on top of that. Whoever's in this chair, and any of these chairs, does a lot of extra work behind the scenes. The firefighters don't even know half of what we do, because we take care of most of our business at the officers' meeting or during our downtime. I just think those are things you folks should consider this evening as you consider this draft policy that's in front of you. Thank you.
I think that's a legitimate question. Why is this different than the other department heads?
This is a seat that's appointed. The road foreman is hired, the town administrator is hired, the recreation director is hired. That's the only difference, is that that position is appointed. It's just a word. It could mean hired instead of appointed. That's the only difference between the fire chief and the police chief, is the word appointment. I mean, but with this policy, they'd still be hired, so he makes a valid statement.
Well, the other point that I'm sure he understands, but is different, is that we can't just get rid of somebody.
Oh, no.
I mean, it takes,
Yeah.
it is a
Yeah.
very cumbersome process.
It is.
And, you know, and there again, it's not that we're having any problems, it's not that we foresee any problems, but this is a tool that would make that a whole lot less cumbersome for future boards. I don't foresee,
Yeah.
I don't foresee any problems in the next 10, 15 years, you know, if you still decide to do that job. Some of the personnel issues that you deal with volunteers, are nothing compared to what we have to deal with employees. And, you know how hard it is. And we have people that we can't just say you're done. There's due process, and it's a very cumbersome process.
And that is different for most people. If you work in the private sector, you're used to being at-will employees. If you work for a municipality, yes, you are an at-will employee, but we must operate. So it's a little bit different. You can't just hand someone a slip and say you're done today. It doesn't work that way for us. So that's why. So if you're in the private sector, it's a little bit different than what we have here.
And it's a matter of making it's a matter of not making the rules for the person you have coming in.
Currently, right.
If we were making the rules for the person we have coming in, they'd be a whole lot different than the person we may expect in 10 or 15 years.
It may also be a good time. I mean, if you think about it that way, as a tool for the select board, in 3 years, when the chief and the first assistant chief come, it also gives you an opportunity to pitch, your plans for the next 3 years and how you want to grow, and kind of get that feedback from the board, or what you see yourself needing in those 3 years, and how, since, as Peter said, you are such a forward-thinking group, that maybe it's a good time. It's a conversation. So,
Joel, you had something?
Well, I would hope they come to us more than just 3 years.
Oh, no, I know. I'm
Tell
just
us that
saying that
future
it's,
things,
right.
number one. And number two is, what is the difference between appointed and hired? So if the road foreman screws up and he comes to work drunk, or he plows into somebody, or runs somebody off the road, we have due cause to dismiss him or suspend him.
Right.
So an appointed position, we don't, or we do, or we can say, Brett, you screamed and yelled at somebody, or Eric, you screamed and yelled at somebody at a fire scene, and it was a good friend of ours, and you're done.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what the difference between appointed and hired are.
The only difference is,
When you're appointed to a job, then you're, okay, I was hired, I was appointed 10 years ago to a job in Middlebury,
Right.
and now I'm hired by them.
right. Well,
I guess I
generally
don't
it's
know what
different.
the
Okay,
difference
for
is.
example, you appointed Jen when I became town administrator. So you appointed her to fill a position until she had to run for re-election. In this case, it's statutory. It just says the legislative body may appoint and remove such officers, fix their salaries, subject to such rules and regulations as it may adopt. So I guess in this case, it's different for the town clerk. It's different for an elected position. So in this case, there may be not a big difference, Joel, in the sense that they're appointed versus elected.
And then I guess my last question.
Because they would be, you'd have to cover them under the personnel policy.
Why did we stop at just the first assistant? You have been preaching this to us in executive sessions a few times, that
Yeah.
Middlebury and Virgins appoint the chief and their first two.
Yeah.
But we stopped at one, just one.
Because that's what we had, that's
Well,
kind of what we discussed.
I think it came out in previous discussion was appointing one. I think that you could appoint the top two. For
could
us,
appoint
it was
as
really
many as
a
you want.
legal.
Top three,
and-
you mean.
Top three, excuse me. It was, for us, it was an insurance issue, and they always happen to ask about the first two, especially the first one.
I see this online thing, the statute, it says a town, city, or incorporated village shall appoint, doesn't mean they have to.
Right.
I just wonder what's gone wrong the last 717 years.
Well, as I said, it's become a thing for VLCT, for the insurance company, and certainly some legal
Workers'
issues. It's
comp.
the first thing that they ask us is whether or not it's a true municipal department. And I always say, yes, we vote on their budgets, et cetera, et cetera. And they're like, well, do you appoint the chief? For some reason, it's a real sticking point with them. And that's why I was just
I don't necessarily think that appointing all the officers would be in the best interests
I didn't say all.
of all members.
You said
I
so.
mean, that's where I think that if you take too much away from the members,
Exactly.
they're not gonna be happy. And, you know, it's a balancing act because they are volunteers. They're employees, but they're volunteers. They're professionals, but they're trained professionals, but it's not their full-time job. It's a whole different ballgame.
There's gotta be some room for internal discretion, you know?
Do you want to appoint the top three?
No, I didn't. I just asked why.
Oh, no, I was just curious. Okay, no, that's fine.
I didn't. No, I wasn't one way or the other. I mean, from feedback I've heard is instead of 40 members voting their top two, you're going to have 3 firemen and a fireman's wife now appointing the top 2. And not all of us were always going to be here.
Right.
I realize that.
No, but it's
But
also.
I couldn't answer that question to him. I just said, I just smiled. I guess so.
Well, but there's already a job description and qualifications
Right.
that they've already discussed and approved, so.
And
So I'm just saying,
they're the
Right,
fire
I understand.
department's job descriptions.
Right, I know that.
Qualifications. It's not like we, the board, came
No,
up with
no,
these
no, no,
qualifications
I-
to fit a certain,
And I know I had
a
some-
couple people that we wanted to be
No,
fire chief.
I get that. I didn't have an answer for him. That's all. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing.
Well, unfortunately, with 3 of us on the board, there are gonna be times when you're not gonna have an answer, other than it's in the best interest of the town. I mean, I don't foresee the fire department being an issue with this board. I think that I'm open-minded enough, Pete's open-minded enough, and hopefully you are, that, you know, that it's not,
So I guess
it's
it's
not
all
the fire
close
department first, it's the town first. And you know, that's, I guess with a question like that, the answer is, it's in the best interest of the town.
And, well, I think 2 things, and I wasn't around in the original discussions, but as Teresa pointed out, that the insurance people keep asking the question, and it is in statute for the select board to appoint a municipal fire chief, which we are. And it's, what am I going well, having been a chief officer for, as you know, for many years, sometimes you have to make decisions
It's not always.
that you really irritate. If you irritate the wrong person who can really stir it up, when that next election comes up, so you're running a fine line. You're not necessarily making best decisions on behalf of the fire department / town, because, geez, I can't make this person angry because I might not get reelected in January. And I think this takes that off the table, at least for the.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Brett, did you have something you wanted to say?
If I may. So, just listening to the current discussion you folks are having, qualifications, I think should you folks consider this is a first step moving forward into the future. We may be, as some say, just volunteer firefighters, but as I tell the personnel at that department, pretty much every month on the first Wednesday, you guys are professional volunteer firefighters. You volunteered to follow the guidelines, the policies, the bylaws, whatever the case may be, and it's all for their safety and for the betterment of the town. And, history shows sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't get it right. But, I think what motivation does a firefighter who aspires to do more, move up the chain, move up the ladder, if you will. And, they have all the credentials, they've shown it on the fire ground, good people skills, whatever it is, but because they aren't friends with enough people in the fire department, they will never get that opportunity. And it kind of like, well, why should I keep trying? Why should I keep going to all these trainings when someone who does the bare minimum gets to be my leader just because they know more people than I do? And I just think moving forward, I mean, we are professional volunteer firefighters. We put us up against any fire department in Madison County, the state of Vermont. And I just think that's important to be said, because if someone, whether you do it full-time, 40 hours a week, or you do what we do on a moment's notice, you need to know what you're doing. And because you know what? At the end of the day, if we screw up, it's going to come back to the town of Bristol, who's got the biggest checkbook. So it's up to you folks to put the right people in the right positions to protect the town and protect the citizens.
I don't see the dedication and the service and the training that you guys do. You're fabulous. I don't see that as part of the discussion at all.
So the changes so we'll make from the word bylaws to policy, that's my bad. Under number 1, we're putting a period at the end of resident of Bristol, period.
I don't think you need to have that,
Huh?
because it's already there, and
Okay, so you just want to end it under, after job descriptions, Peter?
that would be my recommendation.
You okay
Yes,
with it?
you know, after discussion, I don't have a major issue with that last sentence being in there. I really don't see why anybody would want to come here and relocate for a position that pays
Well, not that this will happen, Pete,
$2,000.
but what happens if
If
at
it
some point it
becomes-
becomes full-time?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And
Right.
So that's why I don't really have an issue. If that does, and I know, just with the requirements for training that are continuously coming down, people aren't going to be able to work full-time jobs
Sure.
and meet all
It
the
is.
qualifications.
That's right.
I like leaving that in there just in case it becomes
So
full.
I don't have a problem.
Okay.
Joe, you okay with leaving
You
it
wanna leave
in?
it in?
or
What, the application?
This whole,
The
whole
willing to
thing.
relocate, so we'll leave that in now.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'd be happy with taking to be appointed, relocate if appointed. So when they announced you, okay, somebody from Burlington or Rutland got a job here, you gotta relocate.
Well, that's what it says.
Yeah.
Willing to
Yes.
relocate
Within 6 months.
he's just saying,
I'm saying,
just willing,
pack your bags and get here.
Willing to
Rent an
relocate.
apartment, do something.
All right, but we just
Scratch
kind of,
everything after Bristol.
we just threw a number in there. I think just because I didn't know how long it would take. But we could certainly change that, Joel. So are willing to relocate
once appointed.
once appointed?
Yeah, okay.
No?
I
You
think
want-
we need to have a specific timeline.
You could shorten it. Do you want to say 3 months?
I'd go to 3.
90 days, 3 months? Okay.
Peeker, you okay with that?
Yep.
Any changes on number 2 about resumes, cover letters? Going once. Line 3. 3 and 4, you guys okay with? I haven't heard anyone saying, once the select board has made their decision. So I don't see any problem with 3 or 4 that anyone's mentioned.
I had a question on 3.
Yep.
Why the local emergency management deputy, not director? Just out of curiosity.
Because if it's the town administrator, he'd already be there. The way it is now, but I can write,
That's,
I can
I thought
add,
that was it.
but we can add that, because Lord willing, it won't be the same person. So, we could say,
Or right now the deputy's at the table too. So
there you go. So we could say local emergency management, maybe we should just change that to personnel, and then you could do a coin flip between whoever the
Short straw.
short straw. So that's a good catch, Eric. I'll put that in there. If that's okay with you guys, personnel. So if we change that word, then we can. Because it could be one of the,
Yeah, I don't know about that.
oh, okay, a local emergency management team.
Well, you won't have a team, you won't have a whole
Chief,
team.
deputy, or director. Or
Representative.
clerk, okay,
Yeah,
representative,
representative.
okay, there we go.
It's up.
Yeah, no,
It's already there, just hit
yeah,
deputy.
yep,
You didn't read that far ahead.
yep. Represent Bristol Fire, okay. Number 4. Number 5. Did you have something on 4, Joel?
No, that's kind of standard.
Yeah.
Number 4 is standard.
Okay, so 6, or did you have something on 5?
Well,
And
no,
we
I'm
are-
just
we
thinking
are-
5 and 6, you might have to modify if you're changing this.
Yeah.
Number 6, because it said the term will automatically renew unless the select board has cause. So if you're saying they have to reapply in 3 years, you may have to
Okay.
take out that last
Select Board
line.
will make the appointments for a 3-year term. The term will automatically renew unless the select board has cause. So what you're saying is,
Well, we're saying that they have to reapply every
right,
3
so we'll
years,
just
so.
say, that's what we'll say.
I would like it to say just cause or as per the town's personnel policy, you know.
Unless
So it puts them on even
cause.
plane with, you know, the road foreman,
Right,
police
well, it
chief.
does say, unless the select board has cause as outlined in the town of Bristol personnel policy not to. So we will take,
But the term can't automatically renew if we're saying they have to reapply every 3
right,
years.
so that's what I'm gonna say, we're gonna take out the term will automatically renew
No, I don't want
unless select board
You have to
has
have the-
cause on the
to, I
town of
want to have to
Bristol.
reapply.
So basically, you wanna remove that whole sentence, Michelle, the term will automatically renew and just say,
Well, I think that will depend on what 6 is.
yeah,
I could go delete 6.
okay, so delete 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you.
Well,
I think
yeah, but you guys just got
succeeded.
done saying you want them to reapply in 3 years, so you can't
Right.
take out 6,
You could put it as part of 5.
or unless you're gonna put that as part 5.
Well, what I want out is limited to 10 years.
Okay.
I mean, I think you open the door enough by the reapplication every 3 years.
Agree.
You open the door enough to eliminate that 10-year term.
Well, I get that, but what I'm saying is don't you have to put in there and they have to reapply every 3 years?
Yes.
So that you have to change number 6, I guess.
Yeah, to say,
Number 6 can go away, 5.
Well, or add,
So
change
delete
5.
six. Okay,
Yeah, take 6
so-
out, change 5.
so 5, the appointments will be made as follows. The first year will be a probationary year for both positions, and then after a favorable annual review by the select board, or by both,
I would put town administrator and
And-
and select board,
Yeah.
okay. The select board will make the appointments for a 3-year term, period. And then what do you want it to say? And then say the first, well, it says fire chief,
Candidates will reapply every 3 years.
okay.
And then if you're, if you're a new candidate, if you're a new person, then you'll be on probation for that first year.
All right, so candidates will reapply or apply, basically, if they're a new candidate, after 3 years. So the term will be, okay, there you go. And we won't even put anything about a limit, so this 3 years could go on and,
Yeah. So I don't think it needs to be in here, and maybe this has been done, but because we're starting where we're starting, there is no probationary period.
Right.
And this term started January of 2016.
And that'll be an emotion when we approve
Okay,
this.
as long as that's
Well, they're
done.
halfway through the
So
probationary
2019.
period.
Yeah,
It comes
yeah.
up.
Right.
So as long as that's-
They've already made it because they were
They were
both
chief.
there a year
They've
before.
The year
served
before.
2 years, right?
So they on year 1 of 3?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
we'll make it year 1 of 3.
So they still got to reapply in 3.
Yes,
Right.
2019.
And you don't want that?
Well, it goes back to that appointed or hired. You know, we haven't had a police chief change over
Well,
18 years. He hasn't had to come in every 3 years and throw his card on the table and go, I want to reapply. That's all I'm saying. We need to, if we're going to play by the rules, 3 strikes and you're out, and 4 balls and you get to walk. Each team gets those same numbers and they don't change. Half inning to top inning.
But he's
Well,
not-
you could certainly change that in the future You
When
could
we
give
rehire
your,
a police chief, we could
or
change the
when
contract.
you don't have a contract with your police chief or your road foreman.
What do we have for a contract with you, Teresa? Is that a
3-year.
3-year contract, so we have a 3-year contract with her.
So, but you don't have to reapply in 3 years.
And by the terms of my contract, I have to tell you at a specific point whether or not I will seek an additional term. Then you have to decide whether or not you want me. So I have an option to leave and you have an option.
So what's
to
the
get rid of me.
difference? I guess I'm really confused
So
on
what I'm
what's the
saying
difference.
is to make Brett or.
The chief or the assistant, that's
chief-
not,
the chief-
take the
yes,
words,
right, sorry.
names right
Well,
out.
it's just a habit.
Yes, I know.
To make the chief, is you could give, you could give your police chief and you could give your road foreman, when you do a new hire of your road foreman and you do a new hire of your police chief, you could give them 3-year contracts. So you could do that. I'm just saying, Jimmy, I see you shaking your head. I'm just trying to give him an example.
So your,
Police comes under a whole different ballgame.
wait, so your contract
say
will be
that-
up in another year?
Yes.
You finished 1 year or 2 years? now?
I finished 2 years, I start my 3rd in July.
Right. So what next June or May will this board do? Will we see a resume and another applying for you for your 3 years?
It doesn't
Or-
say that in my contract, you can see whatever you want. You make,
I
I
just,
don't know.
I'm trying to get it back
Can we
where,
ask for a resume?
You
Or an
could,
updated resume?
you could do any of those things. What I'm saying is, your current road foreman does not have a contract.
No, no.
You could give all your department heads, maybe not the police chief, we'd have to review the laws, but you could give the rec department, you could give the road foreman a 3-year contract. I mean, but by rights, it would be the same as the fire chief. You see them every year, so you still have the right to get rid of someone, the road foreman or the rec director, but you have to give them due process. And I would assume the same would be the same for the fire chief. I think what they're trying to do here without term limits, stop me if I'm wrong, Peter, but is that they're trying to get, maybe just make sure that person is still interested, to see if there's anyone else interested, or is there the 3-year?
You don't want it to get stagnant, and sometimes when somebody gets in there, the rest of the members or whatever don't want to vote them out.
It hasn't been a real issue, like I said, it hasn't been an issue, it hasn't got stagnant. I don't see it getting stagnant with this administration, in the future it could. And the board can't have its hands tied not to be able to deal with that without going through due process, because, I mean, it's, if an employee keeps their nose clean, it's hard to get, you can't get rid of them.
I think that's the difference, Joel, is the fact that the road foreman, is hired, and here,
Right.
it's not statutory.
let's
Peter.
peel that onion back just a little bit more on the road foreman then.
Okay.
10 years ago, 11 years ago, we hired him. He retired in the state of Vermont. We all know who he is. I won't mention his name. And we hired him. We thought we can bring his experience in. We've had him for 11 years and we can see what he's done to this town. Okay? What if we said you got a 3-year contract? Said, you know what? Maybe I'm going to go to the city of Vicenza or town of Middlebury or Heinsberg and be their road foreman.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to work and be jeopardized in 3 years, going to be out of work again.
Right.
I just want to peel that back a little bit and say, are we doing that, getting the best of the best when they say, boy, in 3 years, I don't know if I'm going to be fire chief again.
I don't know,
And I'm not saying this group either.
No, I know you're not, Joel. That's a
Future.
good argument for you to have with the other board members. I was just trying to give you an example of how you could, I know what you're saying, is you don't want to make the fire chief's position any different than anyone else's. Yeah, so that's a conversation.
So the other side of that is we
These
don't
guys,
know when
not
they're
me.
leaving. We don't know when any of our employees are leaving if they decide to leave. If you got a contract, you've got to work out your contract or you've got to make amends to get out.
Well, I want a contract. I'm not against having a contract. Teresa has a contract.
Right, but
We don't have something-
doesn't. He could tell us he's retired and he could be gone in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm your
She can
only-
tell us that.
I'm your only staff.
No, she's
No,
got a contract.
she's got a
I
contract.
have there's a way to get out of it, but yes, I am.
There you go.
But
Right, but
There you
it's
go.
a process.
It's
It's
a
a process
process.
that she would have to go through.
Yeah, and I'm your only
Yeah, write a letter.
employee with a
So she's been-
contract.
I don't understand why having to reapply every 3 years means that your job is in jeopardy. I don't understand that a bit.
Right, if you're doing your job,
Yeah. It just means that you're reapplying for your job, you're doing your job, or you still got it.
I didn't.
If you're not doing your job, well, maybe you don't, maybe.
Well, I'd
you'll
like to-
still have the.
I'd like to think of that, we could do that in year 5 or year 2.
will
said, you know
still
what,
have the
just didn't
position,
work
you
out,
just
they're
gotta
gone.
shape up. You know, it doesn't mean you'll lose your job. It means that you reapply, you come before the select board, well, you know, you haven't been doing such a red hot job. Maybe you should spruce up a little bit. We'll give you another term, you know, and just, it's a good check and balance.
Were you saying you'd like to see that longer? The candidate will reapply
just-
every 3 years, or you
I
don't
come
want
back to my own part day. You know, if Mel Dave steps in the box in the bottom of the 3rd and CVU is up to the bottom of the top of the 3rd, I don't give them different balls and strikes. They get 7 pitches thrown at them and they better either hit or swing. And you don't change the rules, and it sounds like we're changing the rules for
Well-
this appointment versus appointment of a road foreman or appointment of a police chief or a rec director.
And they can
No,
look
I
at
think-
every single year. I mean, you could,
I mean, I guess I look at this differently too,
Yeah.
and maybe it's just me, but I mean, I look at appointment different than being hired. The town hires an employee to work, you know, 40 hours a week, whatever it is. We appoint people to committees in different departments, however it is. Like we appoint people to the planning commission and whatever. They don't have a contract, and they have to apply every year. So that, I mean, to me, this is an appointment. We're talking about appointment, not a hire.
You know, I hear both sides of it. I mean, our landfill man worked less hours than our fire chief did, but he wasn't appointed, he was hired. And so,
Right.
and we
I think
could,
it's a statutory distinction. I'd have to Google on dictionary.com what the difference is between appointed, but she's right in the sense that you appoint to the emergency management, you appoint your planning commission members for a 3-year term, you run for a 3-year term. So maybe that's, you know, so when it comes down to it, that's the difference between appointment and hire. This is a hybrid. Basically what you're trying to do is hire the fire chief and appoint him simultaneously because it's just something we haven't done before. And maybe these are policies that can be changed. And so maybe you move forward with it and in a year or 2 or whatever, you find the process a bit cumbersome and the fire chief at that time says, hey, you know, is there a better way we can do this? And what you're doing here is laying the groundwork, but policies can be amended.
The other piece, Joe, the way it's set up right now, the chief has 1 year.
Right.
Only guaranteed 1 year. And so this gives somebody an opportunity, particularly if they're coming in new, 3 years where you can really set your agenda and get the things done that you want, show that you're worthy of another 3 years. Whereas in 1 year, show up in January, and you don't know.
Or it
Right.
gives them 3 years for us to say, oh my God.
And maybe this is the start of a new way of dealing with all the departments.
Could be.
So, just to clarify, so number 5 will say the appointments will be made as follows. The first year will be a probationary year, excuse me, for both positions after a favorable annual review by the town administrator and the select board. The select board will make the appointments for a 3-year term. Candidates will reapply after 3 years, period, and we delete 6, about the 10 years.
I think it would say candidates will apply or reapply.
Will apply, right.
Right.
Yeah.
Every 3 years, right.
Everybody good with that?
You guys good?
Yeah.
You want a motion now?
Sure, you can make a motion to accept the policy as amended, or you want
You
to
want to see it revised?
Okay.
Okay.
Revised, written before.
Okay,
I vote
okay.
on it.
All right. Oops, that's number 2. Don't forget to take minutes.
Yeah.
oh, Jen's not.
No, so,
She's gonna run off next month, so.
yeah. So, all right, so we'll bring this back to the June 13th, and then you can go and make your revised written for June 13th.
So it doesn't look like Anna's coming. Do you want to?
No, so let's talk maybe to Eric about that.
Eric, can we put you on the spot? Can we put you on the spot?
Oh, I'm ready for that. Seems nice.
A good fit for the planning commission?
Yeah, Yeah, from my interaction with her, she actually attended a PC meeting, and I was impressed because she stayed for the entire thing. Seemed to be attentive and awake and concerned with what was going on, so I think she'd be a good fit. So I think we should
Do you know,
hire her.
do you know where she's from?
Pleasant Street. She moved there in 2014 and bought a house with her new husband in 2014. I do not know where she came from. She has some background in web design and a few other administrative type things. So she seemed interested. She said she was looking for ways to give back. I saw this on Front Porch Forum, so she
Emailed
talked
Tran.
about it and talked to Tran. And we had her come to the meeting first, so she meets Sue and I talked to her
She went
for a while. Seemed interested and seemed like she would be a good fit. I obviously had a concern with the amount of work they're doing right now, trying to slide somebody new in there, so I think she would be good with that.
Anybody else have any questions?
So you can either wait until she can come again, we can keep that, or you can appoint her for the 3-year term, which would be Chico's seat, or we could try to arrange for her to come back again, whatever your pleasure is as a board.
I'll get some motion that you contact her, Teresa, if she's still interested, that we appoint her, if she's appointed.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay.
Brett,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brooke.
May we back up just for a moment before this gentleman take off?
Mm-hmm.
So if I would just like to say thank you to the town administrator and to the select board for going through this process and having this discussion this evening. Should you choose in a couple of weeks to make this decision, it's a big decision. It's historic. It's the first time it's ever happened. And but I feel from the position I'm currently in and with the responsibilities I have and what we all have, the responsibilities you folks instill in us, about to take responsibility for a $3.2 million building, as Peter said, you know, the hundreds, millions of dollars worth of equipment, but most importantly, the responsibility to the health and safety of 45 individuals. I think this is a good step in the right direction, and there will certainly be challenges moving forward, but I just think this is a good step moving forward, and we can look to the future and possible future changes. So I just want to say thank you for your consideration.
We should also congratulate, because if you don't know this, we're standing in the presence of greatness. This is the 2016 American Legion Firefighter of the Year, Mr. Brett LaRose. Bristol
Thank
had
you,
a big
guys.
honor this year. They had the Firefighter of the Year and the Law Enforcement Officer of the Year. So
Nice job.
we'll be seeing some good press soon, I think.
Very good.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to excuse ourselves.
Okay. Request from Acorn to use the roads for the 9th annual Tour de Farms on September 18th, 2016.
So this is the same, basically the same route they took last year, or it is the same route. And, but what they're saying this year is they want to do a little bit more. So they were asking about having, or, you know, they're going to work with the recreation club that's in our land to maybe have a little gathering after. And it was very,
At
their
the rec
9th
club?
annual, yeah, it went really well last year.
Didn't we have some complaints last year?
Not about this
Not this one?
No.
Okay.
It's the other one that gets us in trouble.
Well, I
Runs
can't keep
people over on
keeping
the street.
track.
They don't technically hit them.
My only thought was, do we make sure they put Town of Bristol as an additional insured on their policy?
Last year they sent us one, I'll have to make sure that we are listed as additional insured, so I can make that sure. I think we were last year, but I'll make sure we are this time too, Michelle.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
I do.
Go ahead.
I want it made abundantly clear to these people that the participants have got to start using their heads.
Could you elaborate on that? I'm not really sure how to
Yeah.
say that to the gentleman.
I drive a 20-year-old truck, so I can't go very fast with it. But I was coming from a customer's on a Saturday and came around the corner when this thing was going on. And I couldn't have, the road was just completely occluded with bicycles. people chatting and drinking coffee and this and that. The second time it happened on the same trip, I went over a hill, the same thing, I actually had to leave the road.
Get a little more explanation.
And that's only two instances. Other people had similar experiences with them just not using their head and observing rules of the road.
I think that could be part of your motion, is that
It is.
they, yes, is that they must and adhere to all the rules of the road.
Yes,
Wait, Joe, wait.
yeah, it's just too dangerous.
Okay.
What they're doing is too dangerous. This is a good thing.
Right.
Well, that's what I see. I had thought we had heard. I thought it was this one.
Maybe
Them
it
in
was.
Plank Road. Somebody had made a complaint in Plank Road with them being in the road and
Okay.
taking up the whole.
Twice, me.
Well, no, it wasn't you.
Okay.
It wasn't you.
But I think that's
I
good.
think they need to yeah.
Follow the rules of the road. I think that'd be part of your motion, and I'm happy to send that message
And just
to
be
John.
aware when there's that many people, you can't go 4 or 5 abreast on the
It
road.
wasn't all five, there was like a dozen of them, they were partying, you know?
Yeah, so I think that's true, be part of your, and we'll make sure he knows that.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I move that we approve it with the addition that it's made abundantly clear that they abide by the rules of the road, common rules of the road, or however you want to phrase it.
And that they're list us as an additional insured.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you, Ted.
Somebody want a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Did you have a question you want to ask?
I can ask him during the bills.
American Legion's request to extend outside consumption permit on July 3rd, 2016 from 9 PM to 11 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Fireworks that night so they can watch it.
Right.
Request for Turn to Town Teal support for ovarian cancer awareness for the month of September.
This would be the 3rd year. First year you approved it, 2nd year she did it not realizing that she needed approval, and then this would be our 3rd annual. And I will say, they're always good about putting the stuff up and taking it right down.
They do take it right down?
I've been there for 30 days, but they were always good about it.
Okay.
The only thing I was gonna say, we had a conversation with them about was making sure they get permission for the telephone poles and that.
Right.
Yep, yeah. This last year, I just came to work and it was all up and I'm like,
The part that concerned me was the business about them being biodegradable. I could see them staying up there until they were rotted.
oh yeah, no, she was,
Okay.
she was good about that. So as part of this mayor, town official, I guess you'd have to make a motion to have Michelle sign. That's your town official, or your mayor, you can call her whatever you want.
Yeah, right. Somebody wanna make a motion?
I think Pete did.
Yeah.
Did you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Approval minutes of May 16th.
If you don't mind. Do you have, if you have any changes since Jen isn't here, it would be easier if you just email Jen if you have any corrections she needs to make.
I have a question. Who's Marilyn?
Marilyn was the lady sitting behind Lefebvre, she spoke about
She's
that.
not mentioned up in here at all.
Oh, okay, well Marilyn Lefebvre did come, she was mentioned
Yeah, she
up
is
here.
Marilyn Lefebvre.
Yeah, she's up here, she came because remember she was saying.
Yeah, no,
about-
I know Betty.
Oh, sorry, oh, okay.
I didn't have any changes.
That was the same Marilyn.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't have any changes.
My only thing here, Michelle, last couple of meetings, you said, Jen, you have my changes.
Right.
Are those just grammatical changes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing,
because-
there's usually grammatical. I haven't,
yeah.
if they're substantial, then I'll mention them.
All right,
Yeah.
because I was a little nervous about voting for something I hadn't
Yeah.
seen.
No, it's always grammatical.
Change. This, Ted said it seems to have taken, they seem to have taken proactive measures to keep the dogs trained. It should be restrained.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there should be an off or something like
Okay. I'll tell her that.
About that.
I agree, but I think you should say.
Move that we accept the minutes.
Somebody want a second?
Ended?
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Town clerk's not here, town clerk treasurer's report.
She has liquor licenses, so these are all ones that, the town clerk has to sign once you guys vote them through, so I'll read the list to you. They're all for POCOC, they're all special event permits, and if you want to go through them, I have them here. They are Go America Go Beverages, which is doing business as Whistle Pig Whiskey. Shacksberry Inc., which is doing business as Shacksberry Cider. Zero Gravity Craft Brewery covers Junebug Ties, which does business as Covers. They want to be able to sell some local beer like Kevin Hansen, thinking like Hartman, that's not another guy. Stone Corral Brewery, Appalachian Gap Distillery, Burlington Beer Company, and Fiddlehead Brewing Company. So they're all applications for special events permits, and you could make that in one motion. I have their names written if someone wants to.
I so move.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Is that it for town clerk?
Yes.
Okay. Accounts payable, do you want to ask your question
Did
now,
you have a
Mary
question, Joel, about the bills?
Yeah, a couple. I'm trying here, so hold on.
That's nice, yes. Pam has asked to make sure we keep them in order.
This Jake, water line and stuff, some was inventory, it says some for the new fire station. Was those parts billed to that project?
Is it the meter? 'Cause
I don't know.
Picked up the meter.
We were,
New fire station connectors and spare parts for inventory. It just says on the slip here, so I just wanted to,
well, some of it, I'll ask to talk to Lance about, because some of it we're required to provide.
okay, and then here under all the meters, I see the Main Street lights and then the traffic lights is 0. You're not, are that meters picked up on something else now?
I'll have to ask Pam, I don't know.
Okay.
Do the states, man.
Yeah. We're not gonna bill yet. I'll ask Pam about it. Invoice,
All of it, just, there's no traffic light one.
invoice for traffic.
No, they work.
Yeah, no, I'll ask Pam.
The only other 0 is the landfill. I know we don't have a building there anymore, so that's why it's 0.
That's
the 2A.
Don't tell them not to cry too deep, don't call them.
Yeah, they'll send us some back bill. Aside from this, I have a question, or I'd actually like a motion to authorize the treasurer, if necessary, to cut a check to Jerry Spine Cabinetry for $9,000.28. This is for the materials, lumber and hardware to do the cabinets at the new fire station. I'm gonna say he donated his time. If they billed us for the time, it would have been about $9,600 additional to the bill. Now, here's the reason I'm asking. Kevin Harper told me to send the bill to him, and then when I sent the bill to him and CC'd Naylor and Breen, Leo said, no, Teresa, I already gave you the credit, you need to pay that. So I have to work it out with the two of them on Wednesday, but if the town needs to cut the check, I would like permission, I would like you to make a motion to authorize the treasurer to cut a check to Jerry's Fine Cabinetry for $9,000.28 if necessary.
So moved.
Second with a question. So when the project came in at 3.19, it came in with cabinetry, right?
Yes,
And then it was pulled out.
yes.
So does that mean, is that why they mean send it to us because we're going to pay the material of the cabinetry?
Right,
So that's what you're going to work out with them?
yeah, exactly.
Any more discussion?
Oh, yeah, I do have,
Well, you can walk now.
no, I can see it from here. You said they donated the labor, so
He
this
did.
is just material?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I see he's got Chuck Richardson.
Yeah, he did. Chuck and Jerry did. Jerry
Right.
donated 216 hours, and Chuck donated 26.5 hours.
Right.
Yeah, no, and he was just
Check
like,
out them install.
Yeah.
yeah, and do some other. Yeah, he was just letting us know.
Sure.
And they're beautiful. I actually got to see them the other day, and they're beautiful. It's just really a generous gift.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Okay. Select board concerns. Joel, we'll start with you.
I don't think I have anything. I'm still concerned about the amount of runoff over at the landfill and that white green.
Okay, I'll check in with the engineer.
It seemed like they've done much with it immediately.
I was in select board concerned.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
I can ask, I'll talk to Alan and find out what they have done.
should there be more seed put on it, more mulch put on it?
There is, yeah, there's supposed to be, so I'm not sure if Casella came and then left and is coming back, but I'll reach out to
I
them
was gonna say,
tomorrow.
didn't they already reseed some of that? Because when I was at the baseball field the other day, it looked like they had put down some new stuff.
They had, yep, when I went over to walk it, they
Towards the
had,
east,
they were
where
putting
Stop
new
Shepherd's
matting
is.
down and things, so let me, status.
And then
And there was some real heavy rain.
and the road foreman, who I know pretty well, not going to be happy with me, but I think we need to either fix the gate that we got and it locks, or I think we're having a liability issue. People going in
Oh,
and out
locking the
there.
gate to the, I think
I
I mean,
last,
today, people drove in, dumped their, not their trash, but
Their brush.
their brush, you know. And, you know, we've had incidences over there, you know, we ended up putting a fence around the chloride tank because we had that spill.
exactly. When I talked to the road.
And
foreman
that gate is not handy to close and open. It's
Well, and that's what he said. When I spoke to the road foreman about this issue last year, because you brought up last year too about what he's saying is closing the gate at the beginning of the town garage. He just felt it was going to be really cumbersome because everybody's got to get in and out of their trucks, and but you're talking about just locking it at the end of the day and for the weekend.
right, just on Friday or Saturday. You know, I told him, I says, maybe you should speak to Richard and say, Richard, can you lock it at noon on Saturday when you leave?
I can speak to him about it. He's on vacation this next week, but I could speak to him when he comes back and see, get a clear picture of if he's opposed, why, and find out what his thinking is.
Okay.
All right, but I know he's not around next week, so I'll have to wait.
Ted,
I will speak to him.
your turn.
Okay, what's the deal with the crosswalk between Maple Fields and the Creamy Stand?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. It was on my list. I'm glad you brought that up. We have had a couple comments about that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what has happened is, it's actually not a legal crosswalk. So I believe last year, the select board with the road foreman and the police chief was opposed to it because there was a sign there, and the road foreman also was opposed to it because we were marking private property. Also, you can't park within 15 feet of a crosswalk. So when the crosswalk went all the way to the creaming stand did not want to give up the parking on either side of it. 3 spaces, and they were not interested in
This,
doing that.
basically, this is what's,
Yeah.
I know it.
And a legal,
we got to Tom 2 years ago. We didn't
legal
want to give this up.
crosswalk goes from one handicap placement to another. So it has,
Domes.
like truncated domes, thank you.
Yeah.
So it isn't really legal with crosswalks, so it's not going towards, because it's not a legal crosswalk. There is a
Okay.
sign there, however,
No
if you're
parking.
headed east. There's a no parking sign on Maple Fields, but if you're coming east, there's a sign
Yeah.
that shows pedestrians with an arrow down. But it has become a big issue. I've received, a few phone calls about it. I can tell you the road crew has put away the paint sprayer for the year, and as he told me the other day, but because it's not a legal crosswalk, we stopped painting it. I had wondered, since the owner was, what responsibility the owner has, and I had spoke to the police chief about what if when they were open, they put a couple of cones in the middle of the road on either side. But the police chief said, well, that's not a bad theory, Therese, but people coming in and out of Maple Fields are going to, hit the cones and take them, with a big tractor trailer and gas and deliveries come and.
Do they have to get state permit to do that?
Okay, my
They
point
might.
is, there is not a crosswalk going west down West Street beyond the Howden Hall Catholic Church crosswalk. There is not one more crosswalk.
Right.
And so we're going to jeopardize the health and safety of the village residents who a lot of them walk from their homes in the village down Maple Street and across that crosswalk to go get a creamy. We're gonna jeopardize their health and safety on a technicality.
It's a technicality that makes us liable. If you put it in.
Ted, I think it's a technicality on Tom Wallace.
Yeah,
He needs to give up a parking spot.
It was
You need to
three.
give it
It's more than
3.
one. It was 3.
Yeah.
And which is
I'm
tough.
not gonna feel real good when somebody gets hit.
No, I'm not either. I agree with you that there's nothing there, but if we put a crosswalk to, somebody comes out, there's cars parked on these right here, and somebody darts in between these, they get hit, they go, "Town painted it."
I don't believe we painted the ones over at Bristol Works this year either.
No.
No, we did not, because they're on private property. The other concern was, I think, that when I spoke to the police chief and road
Oh, back up. They're on private
That's what
property.
Peter
They
said.
Go to nowhere.
right. Well, Peter
So-
was saying it went to nowhere, exactly.
It goes
He
to,
was saying
it goes to a parking lot, well.
Or I thought he was talking about the ones on the same side of the road, Bristol Works, where you can go into Marble Works and come around, where they painted in
Yeah.
their parking. Those he didn't paint.
Right,
then
and you
you
said, when you said private property, that
Oh.
crosses our road, it's no different than Wallace's is private property.
Right, I was thinking private property because I was thinking it was within his parking lot going,
No, it
east
crosses
west.
our road.
Go, I know, but I thought he had some going east-west on Pinesville. Well, the reason he didn't paint that one was because it was an illegal crosswalk. That's why Peter said he didn't paint it. My concern about it a little bit is, I understand what you're saying because kids use it, but does it give people a false sense of security, the crosswalk being painted when people are backing out and they can't see if there's kids in the crosswalk? I don't know.
I mean, we had this, Ted, we did have this, just to bring it up to speed, Tom Wallace was in and wanted it painted last year. And we told him we couldn't legally paint it because he didn't have a legal space for them to land on his side. And that's why, look at the spaces we gave up at Howden Hall to put it in. You know, that's,
So 2 parking spaces.
well, basically 3, because what we did
One's
was
the-
we
one's the
handicap
crosswalk.
there and gave the space to get out.
Right.
Right.
No. I don't like it.
Could we, when you at one point, I think, for the Catholic Church, where you were putting a barrel
Yes.
out in the
When we
road.
had a person at 6:30 mass almost get hurt, hit in the winter months.
I was in the winter months.
We
okay.
put a barrel out on the yellow line just during mass, and then the ushers took it down at the end of mass. You know,
I'm just wondering.
That's a legal crosswalk. you
that's a
know.
legal crosswalk.
Yeah.
We still had people zinging by. And we
Right,
go, "Ooh."
in the winter, yeah. I was just wondering if there was some other option that Tom could work out with the police chief.
Wouldn't he have to contact AOT?
To put
Because-
something in the road?
Yeah, or do
Most
anything,
likely.
because even though it's our road,
it's
it's
state
still
road.
that way, so I think he's
Yeah.
gotta clear whatever he wants to do or can do with them.
So would you like me to send a letter to Tom Wallace or give him a call?
Or somebody, because I've been listening to a pile of complaints for a week now of people who want to walk their kids down from the village homes and go over and get.
I wonder,
and they're-
could we come off the corner of Maple and go straight across? I know we'd be going to no sidewalk, but we could put a little sidewalk there if we're worried about safety.
But you'd have to put handicap, the trunk.
Yeah.
Truncated, don't.
We'd have to, or we'd have.
Right at Cecil's there, you mean?
Or at Cecil's or on the other side,
Yeah,
Okay, so
probably the
I
other
would think
side.
the other side.
if you do that, then aren't you you're doing that for a private
Yeah.
person?
Right.
And you're gonna have how many people in here saying, well, you did it for him, why aren't you doing it for me?
A private person.
So maybe we offer it as a solution and. let
But it's
him
still
get the
privately
private
owned?
Who owns the church?
Yeah, but I'm talking the roadways that are there, you got Holly Hall on this side, you got the church on the, you got the park, I mean, it's not, it's.
That's
all
like
downtown.
the
That
state
was-
did
The
that.
state did that, we
If it's
didn't.
a viable solution, we offer it up to him and let him pay for it.
Well, right.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, that's something that somebody's gonna have to look at, because if he
Right.
doesn't own the land right across from Maple, he's gonna be going on to, I think it's Ross and
Yeah, it's like,
Ross Brown and Chris, Chris.
yeah, all them.
There's also the crosswalk from the National Bank of Middlebury over to the Thomas Building. Same deal.
those
What do
are,
you mean
that's
single?
considered a legal crosswalk because it's from our sidewalk to theirs, and we actually had a state grant.
Our
Our
sidewalk,
sidewalk,
yeah.
our
There
sidewalk.
is not a safe way to cross that street anywhere west of Howden Hall. And that is what I'm concerned about.
Well,
I'm sorry, but the responsibility relies on Tom Wallace in the creamy stand.
I'll give Tom a call
It's
tomorrow.
his response, if one of his customers are going to get hit, going to their creamy stand,
What if they're going from the creamy stand over to Maple Fields?
there's still, the problem is on his side, and he doesn't want to give up one parking spot. He wants them to. Well, I know, but he doesn't even want to give up one or two. He wants them to jet between the vehicle and get right to the crosswalk, and when they're coming up through there at 30 miles an hour, yeah.
All right, well, let me give Tom a call tomorrow and see what I'm sure we can sort some, see what he's.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I don't know what, I'd have to physically look at it to see if you could put you'd have to have a sidewalk on the opposite side to go to, but it would only have to be a couple of squares, truncated domes there and truncated zones on the north side. It's gonna cost him a few $100, but it would give him a legal crosswalk.
All right, I will talk to him
So,
tomorrow.
Is there
Peter,
gonna be-
wait a minute, if you're saying, if he put a truncated dome right here,
No,
up here,
then-
up here on
No,
Maple.
Maple Street, yeah, whichever way you're
Yeah.
gonna have.
Okay.
Come opposite our sidewalk, and then he'd have to put sidewalk on the other side. He'd have to put a landing over there. It'd be like New Haven, the sidewalk to nowhere that crosses the road,
Yeah.
but it would be a legal crosswalk.
And then the police could enforce, could ticket and enforce the crosswalk because it's difficult
Our
right now.
sidewalk ends where, way up by Page and Campbell?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if, but
Our
if,
only other option would be to continue that sidewalk down to where we could cross, and that's a lot for,
I don't see anybody going there to cross it.
Yeah.
So, would this be a legal crosswalk if these parking spots were taken with the slants?
yes. But you won't give them up.
But you'd have to
I
have
would
it
think
forward
some
to it.
painted lines up on there would be a lot cheaper than putting up.
No, that's his decision.
And that's what I think, we
And
got,
it's 3 cars, you know, it's 3 cars he loses.
Yeah.
Three
It's
customers,
true, and
possible,
I-
3 customers.
Yeah, we were there at 9 o'clock the other night, the place was mobbed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so let me just talk to him tomorrow. Tom's a very nice man, we'll talk to him and see if he has some ideas. He's had this business for umpteen years, he might have some ideas on what could work better for him and his staff.
Anything else, Ted?
No.
Pete?
I'm good.
You good? Good. My only question is, has the park come in for the walk signs? and
Not
light?
yet. Peter was, we spoke about it yesterday because I asked him to get me, if he could get a price from the same guy in one of the dog houses, and then Peter was talking about signs, and so we had a whole discussion about it. He said, oh, I gotta poke him, to see
Well,
if we got.
it's pretty sad when we got state-of-the-art lighting and we've been over a month waiting for a park, probably a
Or more, hasn't
$5
it?
park.
Yeah, and yeah, it's true.
fill me in again with that.
Remember,
like
it's
the
the one,
walk, it keeps cycling through with the walk sign that all the
One of the
lights go
buttons is
on,
on.
no matter
Right.
if nobody's there or not.
Right.
I love it when people come up and they go boom, 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 boom. It's like, you think it's gonna change any faster? I'm hitting it 20 times. It's like, no wonder it's broke.
that's where we are with that.
Do we need to do anything with this one?
Nope, that's to the new policy. Peter, was just kind of an FYI that you guys were having that,
Well, I was
Peter.
gonna say that one kind of set for
huh?
2 weeks before we say it's okay.
Yeah, no, Peter, yeah. Peter had spoken to the gentleman and then I gave Peter it could be in his box, he was in, fine. He had a training all day with him and Kale upstairs on Thursday.
Where all the other town trucks were here.
Yep, it was local road foreman.
That's all I got. Town administration report.
So, included in your packet was a note from the police chief asking if you guys were interested in him pursuing a false alarm policy or ordinance. It was the first time that he'd said anything to me about it, so I don't know how big of a deal this is. Years ago, the board approved such a charge. However, I learned most communities that do this enact an ordinance for such charges. If they're interested, I can research the ordinance piece.
Like false alarms for house alarms,
I think
fire alarms.
Merchants Bank, yeah, charges are often for responses to unregistered alarms and multiple false alarms. while we don't experience a ton of these, it might be wise to get ahead of it for future as we expand to cover the town where there are likely a bunch of residential systems. So,
So is he gonna charge us when one of us comes in, opens the door and forgets our tolls?
so you're telling me you want local officials exempt?
Well, you better tell the rest of some of us who don't know how to shut the alarm off.
Well, you just have to have your code, and you shut it off, but some people come in and don't know their code,
Yeah.
and do their business, they're gone long before they get here.
Yeah, get a phone call. So is this something you want him to look into, or?
Why not?
I'd like to know how big of a deal it is.
Yeah, like I said, he's never.
It
had
sounds
to-
like from his letter, he's looking to the future.
Yeah, there are towns that have these. When I worked in public safety for some reason, I know Brattleboro has a very comprehensive one, so it'll be a place for him to look, Therese.
Okay, Brattleboro.
And I remember talking to the town manager there. It's more for the fire department,
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I hear a lot of those calls.
but I mean, we were up your way for the, I don't know how many times, this weekend. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have.
Okay.
Sorry.
So it would be all departments, not just the police.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It
he
looks to me like we already have, excuse me, approved. And all
But it was
all
probably,
it was, you know,
If it's not an ordinance like that, it's
Well,
not.
if we're gonna, if we already have it, we just enact an ordinance, okay, we're done with that.
So you're saying,
we-
so have him work with the fire department as well? So you're looking for a joint policy? Is that what you two were just saying?
I think so,
I think the
yeah.
policy should be generic, yeah,
Yeah.
to fit
I
both
mean, yeah,
departments.
people just continuously don't clean their
Chimney.
smoke detectors
Or
or
smoke
never change the
detectors.
batteries, and we
Yeah.
get called out,
And you
a
realize
couple times a year.
Every time those trucks roll out, it costs you probably $300-400.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
So, you know, it's not like it used to be, it's not.
No, I think that's.
Okay. The, same in the same vein, the chief would like permission to advertise in the newspaper for part-time police officers. One of the officers is going to be leaving, hasn't been working much for us anyway, so it looks like he's got his home on the market and looking to relocate. Another officer that's part-time is taking on more full-time work, so he's not sure what their availability is, so he would like to put an advertisement in the paper and go through the hiring process.
And you're involved.
Yes,
with
as
that,
outlined
right?
before, yes. So, okay, we'll do that. Just to let you know, well, I think I might have put that in here, we did get the grant, I did get it completed and got it, so we did get that, so that's good. I let Alan Heisinger know. As you can see, you got a report from 64 Seconds, that is the annual leak detection, and it was always good to see Alan Williams, who's the gentleman, and he was great. He said, you know, this is why we do this, Therese. You get more. We fixed some a few years ago, and now we're going to fix West Street, and then these are some, and I'll send these on to Green Mountain Engineering so they have it as well.
So are these in addition to what, the previous report? Or are these,
Yeah,
these aren't the only ones, these are in addition?
These are the ones that were on the previous report we fixed, except for
Okay.
West Street. So
Okay.
these are new ones, and
Okay.
he was really happy with the system. He said he went through the whole system and he just found a couple there, and he was really good about it. So I'm very happy. And he said this is what we do. If we keep coming back year after year, we're gonna, you know, keep getting it down. So obviously West Street, I just told him not to spend any time on West Street because we had such, you know, we knew what we had for a problem.
Oh, okay.
So the one on Mount Street, is that the one at Sharp Handway at the top?
I think that's right by Heath's driveway.
Down the bottom, right by the
Bottom,
school?
yes, just north of Heath's driveway,
Yeah.
yeah. God, we tested that hydrant last year, we got a good flow out of
Yeah, so, you know, and the thing is, it was saying, you know, let's see, leak number 2. So it's good that we, you know, when we first got this report, it wasn't so good. And I think
So we're
also,
doing something.
yes. And it's not, I mean, he's saying it's losing about 15 gallons a minute, which is nowhere near some of the gushers that we saw before.
There.
Right. Anybody else stare at this picture until they saw a fire hydrant?
Yeah, it took me a little while
I
to figure
spotted
out
immediately.
what I was looking at.
it. You know what they look like, I know you know what they
I did, but it didn't take me very long to spot.
I wanted
It's a little, it looked a little camouflaged.
You know? And Bill Benton was here, so he did look at Station 1 and 2 the other day, so hopefully we'll hear back from him maybe this week or another week. It's pretty funny. So anyways, I've given him all the paperwork that I had. I also wanted to let you know that I did meet with Paul Davis of Scenic Valley, and he did not damage the sound system. He does not have a motorized,
It wasn't motorized, it
you know,
was
to
a
cut
shower.
up. Right, and he's the one who does it himself, and he said that it was already broken, and as you can see, the one near the tree closest to the cannon, he had mulched under. The other two I looked at with him, and you can tell in one of them where it came apart, and he's wondering or saying perhaps that because it's not buried very deep enough the ground, that frost and tree roots are gonna cause those things to come up. And two places I don't see it's broken, it seems to be pulled apart. He is willing to fix them for us, however, but I wasn't sure. You had said something about testing the system, so
Yeah, I have to test the system anyway.
so I didn't know if you wanted to test it first and then have me have him fix it. How would you like to do that?
I don't know, but when I found it, it was chopped.
I mean, I looked at them with
Maybe
him.
he made a mistake and chopped it, but it was definitely chopped. And if you look in the end, it's broken out. I'm hoping that the wire is still intact, because that's gonna be a big mess.
We did look at it, and he's feeling like he could put a coupling on there and repair it, but I don't know if you want to repair it before you test it or
That makes no
after.
difference.
You don't
No,
care?
no.
Okay, I will ask them to get it repaired then. I just wasn't sure what you wanted to do. So the other thing, Michelle, this is really some help from you. I spoke to Ben Detman about our sale, our purchase of the property. And so he asked about title insurance, if we were interested in purchasing title insurance. And so it's to the tune of $6,600. So I wasn't sure if you could illuminate on that.
Title insurance is like any other insurance, but it's a one-time fee unless you like refinance, you know, and then the loan policy will, but your owner's policy is a one-time charge, and it covers you for things that may be unrecorded. Like in my instance, on our property, their water lines were where they weren't supposed to be. So there was no easement, nothing recorded, so title insurance should technically cover that type of thing. Or if somebody has a deed, they sold the property and, you know, and then sold it twice, you know, but only one of the deeds was recorded, it'll cover you for that thing. But they're like any other insurance, you know, just so you know that they're gonna fight you tooth and nail to try and pay any claim. But yeah, I mean, it's there in case there's something found that's not in the public records. You know, some people say don't bother, some people take a chance, and some people say, okay, it's a one-time fee. And I mean, it's $6,600 because of the price.
Because of the price.
Yeah, it goes by price.
Exactly. Well, and that's the interesting thing I was gonna ask him about, because I think we could get it cheaper, because the sale of the land is not, you know, the sale of the land is less. And if the title insurance is usually only on the land because the building wasn't there, so I think his price might be high.
Yeah, I mean, it should be, well, when you're buying it though, at the time you buy it, you're buying the whole facility.
I
The
see.
sale, the
'Cause I thought the
title insurance would be
insurance
on the
was just
purchase
on
price,
the-
because you want it on the value of whatever you're buying. Because if
Okay.
something should happen and that land becomes unsaleable, then you want to be able to cover for that.
Oh, okay, I was thinking
So-
that differently. I was thinking it was strictly on the land.
Yeah, no.
And so I was like, well, wait a second, so, what's
I
your?
mean, what happens if you find hazardous waste in there that you didn't know was there? Then the whole building may be null and void.
Right.
Yeah. So those are the arguments for.
Haven't hit anything yet, and I've dug pretty much everywhere
Yeah.
over there.
I'm just saying those are the arguments for it. I mean, is it required? No.
No,
I
that's
mean,
what you said.
it's a
not.
chance you take if
Well, it's
you know
been
something should
surveyed
happen.
how many times, and it's been in the Nelson family for eons. So anybody who would have any claim to it, I mean, all of the property there was in the Nelson name at one point, still more or less is.
Yeah, I mean, and
Could there be
John's-
easements out there between the Nelsons that you may not know about, it may not be recorded?
Right.
Well, if they're not recorded, is it good?
Sure. If they have a legal document that says, I have a easement or a right of way over this property, and they just never recorded it, sure, it's still valid. Those are the tough questions, because you don't know. I mean, it's a crapshoot. You can take your chances and, you know, not go with it, or you can. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, no, I'll take my chances. I don't think that there's gonna be something out there. I mean, but like you said, the Nelsons have owned it for eons, so you may not find something.
So you need to make a decision about what you want to do. That was the price I was
Just-
quoted, $6,665.
Let's just talk about the alleyway here.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't, that was a screw up somewhere along the way. So when they bought that house, they thought they owned the property to the fence. And that wasn't the case. So that's an issue where the title insurance will step in and either pay the claim or help defend.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly seems the level of trust. It's a big building. It's 6,600 versus 3.2. I mean, obviously you're.
Did the previous owner, which we're gonna buy the fire station from, Kevin, did he take out title insurance when he bought that?
I don't know. I'm not sure because I'm.
He would be on, but his title insurance would only be on the land.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
he
where-
will- and it
going
will
back
only
to the
cover-
question.
And that will only cover him. It's
Yeah,
not transferable.
It's not.
It's not transferable.
No, it's not.
No.
So once he sells it to us, he's washed his
His insurance,
hands.
right, his insurance is, that
Lapsed.
title insurance is done. Yeah.
And it doesn't give us clean slate.
No.
Even though he sold it to us, and if something goes back,
Right.
No.
Seems like 6,600 on a 3.2 million is really a drop in the bucket. I mean, for protection, it is public money and there's a level of public trust that comes with that. So, I mean, my recommendation, as hard as it is to say that, would be to purchase it, but you can do what you want. I mean, that's just my gut saying that. I don't know how everyone else feels about it. What's your personal opinion, Michelle? You've bought it. I mean, you're obviously in the business.
I'm not the right one to ask.
Yeah, that's
So I'm gonna pass
Let me
the buck
ask you-
on that
let
one.
me ask you this one, Michelle, then, to help me clear my mind a little more. Peter said it's been in that family for generations.
Yep.
We all know. Could there have been something between two parties of that family? One of them said, wait a minute, I still have rights to, that I didn't get conceded to me.
Right. They would have to document that, prove that.
It's not settled already.
Well, I,
Oh, there you go.
I mean, they would have to document that. They would have to have some kind of proof that they have those rights.
Couldn't be verbal.
right, no.
Well,
I
a
think
verbal
that-
contract is still a verbal contract, but they'd still
But
have to.
everybody's gone.
Yeah.
Everybody that would have been involved in that verbal contract is gone.
The brothers wouldn't have the current.
Well, no, it was Jim and Carl, and before that, Peter Senior, or Jim and Carl's father. And he divvied up land between Jim and Carl, and then there was, I don't know what happened there, but they got that straightened out.
Betty wasn't in there anymore?
I don't know that.
But she's not gonna.
So,
Okay. Somebody, Peeker, what's your opinion?
I hate insurance.
that's just another opinion.
That's your personal opinion.
That's one.
I hate to say what I spend on insurance a year hoping I don't have to use it.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it's $6,600 that we'll never get anything for, in my eyes.
Peter?
It is a lot of money and I will probably never get anything back for it, but I think we need to protect the town.
Ted?
I see it as Speaker does.
Joel?
Oh, you had to ask me, did you? You know, 3.2, when something happens, like Peter says, we've got to protect the investment of the town, but I also agree with Ted and
And
Peeker that
Yeah.
it's money we're probably never gonna see.
Well, I agree. I don't think we'll ever use it.
I've paid fire insurance on my house for 33 years. I've never used it yet, but I pay it every year.
Yeah, you better knock on wood.
I use it every year. I pay for it every year. So.
This is, I
I'm over
have to
with
say,
insurance.
someone a second, and then
What
I'll
did you
finish
say?
my discussion.
I
He
didn't
said,
hear.
I move we buy the insurance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Somebody want a second?
I go.
We didn't hear your opinion.
Oh, I know, because you moved.
I was going to agree
This
with Peter that we'd have a 2-2 tie and make her. I wanted to hear her.
That's what you're gonna do.
This is on the real estate itself, so, you know, unless there's some title problem, you aren't gonna use it.
Right.
I mean, and that's the problem, you don't, it's an unknown, it's just like anything else, it's an unknown, so, you know, it's,
And it's
But
hard
there
too
again,
because if
stewards of the town, like Teresa said, there's stewards of the town money. It would not be in our best interest not to cover our butts when something could go wrong. And we'd not be able to use a fire station or not be able to use access back to our lot. It's just not,
not worth it.
not good business.
How many years have you put in to get this where it's at?
And here again, it's just the 9 we're buying and not the 30 that we got
Right.
for
No,
the
it's just-
state.
It's
Right.
just the 9 we're buying,
Right.
the piece we're buying.
Right, but it could
Right.
jeopardize our access if
If something
we're in.
happened.
I mean, they're going through Carl's house right now. And if somebody finds something in there, that some document that says something, this, that, or whatever, we're done.
Somebody has a deed already into them for that 9 acres.
I mean, I agree 100% with Peter. I don't think that's going to happen. The percent is whatever small.
What would we look like?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
right.
we didn't protect the town's interests.
The investment.
He's screaming now, so.
You'll be looking now.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Kind of a moan-eyed.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna say nay.
Ted.
Motion carried.
Yeah, it was funny when I saw the email from Ben, I was like, my first thought was, where's that money coming from? I was like, okay, but then I got thinking about it.
No, it's other, can you check other places? Is there only one place?
Well, I'm gonna ask him that, that's a good
Yeah.
question, I don't know. I figured, my guess, I was
Well-
assuming somebody had a monopoly on it.
See,
but-
you know what? This is what happens: is that you are an agent for a title insurance company. So whoever did he did the title search. So if he's an agent, he'll issue whatever title policy he's an agent for. If he's not an agent, then he can go out and get it from somebody.
Okay, so I can ask him.
Yeah.
But most of it's based on purchase price. You know, so there are differences.
Yeah.
So if we,
I'll ask him if
so
we can
last
get it
July,
cheaper.
if we'd have bought the land, we'd have been paying only on the land.
Only on the land.
So we didn't
But
need to
then
buy
once you-
title insurance on a new
but-
building.
But then once you put the building up, you might want to have changed that amount. Because if something were to come up, you want the value of the property with the building on it.
Because she's saying if there's an access and all of a sudden someone said it goes down the middle of the fire station, we can't use it, we need our $3.2 million back.
Right.
So it insures the entire value.
Ensures the value of the property with whatever buildings are on it.
Not,
And not just the property. I mean, if you insured it for just the property, whatever that price was, say it's $200,000, then the title insurance will only cover up to $200,000. You've got a $3.2 million building on there, you don't get the value of the building. It's only up to whatever you insure it for. It's just like your house.
The last request comes from Darla. She didn't realize, well, I guess I'll start by saying this. Part of my contract is I have a cell phone that's paid for by the town that I use. You know, because we're on call 24/7. And the road foreman, in his last, I think it was started last year, he gets $50 a month towards the cost of his cell phone because he uses it obviously for town purposes. The police department all receive PD phones so that and those are covered by the town. So when we sent out the letters to everyone's home telling them how much they made in salaries and fringe benefits, et cetera, Darla realized the other day saying, hey, wait a second, I saw this line for cell phone. She's like, I use mine all the time. What does this mean? And I said, well, and I explained the situation currently. And she said, well, I would like to receive $50 a month for reimbursement for my cell phone because and it's true, I do call her on her cell phone and she, that's the form of communication that she uses. She doesn't have a landline, but she,
Well, if she's not in the office, if she's out doing something, that's.
yeah, exactly. And that's how people get her. I mean, how people call you on your cell phone, people call me on my cell phone. It's just it's out there, people get it. So what she would like to do is, she asked if she could be paid from July 1st, 2015 until now, $50 a month. And she said that the money, there's savings in the hub's budget under health insurance, so she feels it wouldn't hurt their budget to be passed, reimbursed, and then moving forward in the current year, she would take it out of her telephone line, and she knows that that's $600 that she would have to cover, cut another line from, expense from, excuse me, I'm not saying that correctly. She needed to cut $600 from the rest of her budget to cover that. So she'd asked me to speak to you about it, and we've never done it in arrears before, but we certainly have done it moving forward. As I've said, you know, Pete Booger, myself, and the police department, and Darla is the department head, and she does use it for town business, and that's how Peter and I had come up with a number of about $50 a month.
And Peter used his up until he got to ask for it.
Yeah, and he, you know, he
We
uses
didn't
it.
pay him back.
Right.
No,
I
we
mean,
didn't.
I don't mind going July 1, 2016
Okay.
till, but not previous.
Is that a motion?
Yeah,
You do this month?
You mean June 1st, starting June 1st?
Yeah.
I could do June 1st and yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh. Someone gonna say.
Been brought to our attention. Okay, okay, wait till a second.
Somebody want a
I'll
second?
get a second so we can discuss it.
We talked about, where was it here? Number two, appointment versus hire. We gonna, fire chief comes in, wants us to pay for his cell phone partial.
They pay for his.
I mean, he's right, the state pays for his now, but if that's, then you certainly could. I mean, you
I
make
just,
an
you
arrangement
know,
with him.
when I
It's
kept
gonna be
going
the
back
same
to fair is
for this
fair.
Yeah,
First
yeah.
assistant chief, too.
Well, I guess my question is,
Does she give her cell phone out as a contact
Yes.
in her,
Yep.
in
Well, I
her
don't know if that
capacity?
in her-
Yes, she, yeah.
It's on the
I mean,
brochures.
It's on, I think, well, I don't know if it's on
Her
the
cell phone
brochure,
is-
it's on her business card, certainly. And currently, obviously, she doesn't have a landline, but she's on her cell phone a lot, like she's out
She has a
checking
landline in her
camps.
office.
She has a landline
It's
in
the
her office.
only,
But
it's
she's
the
out
only
checking
number she
camps.
ever leaves when she calls me and wants some information about
Yeah.
something or wants something for the record.
It's because, you know, she has a meeting or point, she always has it with her.
Yeah.
The other thing too, a lot of parents have it because if their child is at a camp and she's out there to check on them, you know, certainly you can call her on her phone and she's maybe down at the river camp checking on things, so. So as part of her job, she's certainly, you know, you need to be able to get a hold of her. And if there's
They
a
want the
problem,
Service down there.
yeah, and if there's a problem at, you know, during an event
Right,
at
no.
night, someone calls her too.
Does it make sense to start looking into like a town plan with just town phones that they
I mean,
issue to
it's
them?
funny because I asked Peter that because my phone is like $51.19 a month, I think, something like that, within that ballpark. And I said the same thing to Peter. I said, why don't you just get a second? What about getting a phone? Because the police have phones, you could probably get them cheaper. But Peter said, I'm not carrying two phones, which was my sentiment. I agreed with him there. And he said, I'm just not having two phones. Everybody knows this number. If
won't
anybody needs
stop
me,
calling
they can
you.
call. And so he said, I said, well, you probably could
Done down
transfer
there.
your number. But he said, yeah, but you know, and then I retired, you know, so, and anyways, it was a long conversation, but I did try to sway him, and that's how we got to the $50 mark, because I was like, okay, if you had his phone on a town plan, this is how much it would cost, so.
And you wouldn't have the data, you know, he may have data, he may have this, he may have that.
Oh, and you know, he's got, and everybody, you know, as soon as I'm like, oh, I need to talk to him, he's like, shh, here's our number, and you know, and so he just, and I don't blame him for not wanting to carry two. So that was how we got to the 50 because it was what the rest of us, you know, came. So it was kind of fair. So I will certainly, so your motion, June 1st, 2016, $50 a month.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. That it?
That's it.
Okay, we need to go into executive session.
I need to run. Good night.
Jimmy, I need to see you. Police advisor, I need to see you there.
Can somebody read now?
I'd make a read. Aye.
Oh, enter into executive session to negotiate a land sale of custodial property per 1 VSA subsection 313A2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, executive session.